All right, so what we're going to do for section 3.2 is work on how to graph using a graphing calculator. So you're going to see that we have the key history down here at the bottom, and what you'll see on your regular screen for your graphing calculator, if I can find mine to show you, what you'll see on your viewing screen when you turn on your graphing calculator is what is going to be in the center of the screen here. All of the buttons really are the same. So everything that you see that is on the computer will be the same that's on your calculator. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is practice graphing. So in order to graph something, what we want to do first, if your calculator has been maybe used by someone else or it just hit buttons in your bag, the first thing you're going to want to do is go into y equals and just kind of scroll through and make sure nothing is typed there. So you see mine is nice and empty, so that's great. If you see anything is typed there, maybe you see some random stuff, you'll just hit the clear button and that's going to make that disappear. So hit the y equals and double check everything there is good. The next thing we want to do is hit zoom, and then we want to hit the number 6, and that's just going to bring us to a window that goes from -10 to 10 and -10 to 10. That way we're not kind of in a random window. This is going to keep us right where we want to be. After that, we're going to hit second quit. Okay. So we've hit y equals to clear everything out. We've hit zoom 6 to make everything the nice standard window. Now we're going to actually start graphing. So that's just to make sure there's nothing crazy typed into your calculator. Okay, so when I want to graph a function, say I want to graph, for instance, x cubed minus 8x squared. The first thing I'm going to do is go into the y equals. I'm going to start to type x cubed. X is up by the alpha key. It's next to the green button. It says x comma t comma theta comma n. To draw cubed, I'm going to hit the caret, which is under the clear button above the division, and hit 3. If you have an older calculator, you're still going to see the caret symbol, and that's okay. I'm going to have to hit the button to the right to go back down to the regular typing line. Minus 8, and then x again, squared. I can either hit caret 2 or I can hit the x squared button by the comma. Either one will do the job. Okay, so now my function is typed into y equals. If I want to see what it looks like, the first thing I'm going to do is hit the graph button, which is up at the top right. Okay. So here's my graph. I don't see all of it, but I do see it seems to start down from the bottom. It hits maybe equals 0, probably looks like a 0, 0. It goes down off the screen and it comes back. So this isn't a great window because I can't see everything that's going on, though it might go on forever. I do want to see if I can make this a little better. So I have a few ways that I can change my window. One thing I can do is hit the zoom button. And when I hit the zoom button, I'm going to get a list of options. I could certainly just hit zoom out, so I can choose 3, or I can use my arrows to scroll down and then hit enter. Okay. If I'm going to zoom out, I can just hit enter a few times, but it might not do exactly what I want, so I can keep hitting enter. But that's really not that much better. That's almost harder to see. So instead, what we can do is hit window. And what this is going to do is change my x max and my x min, and same for my y. So how far to the left and the right do I want to go? Okay. So let's start. We were originally -10 to 10. So let's start by doing -10 seemed fine, but let's go to maybe 20. Let's see if that's any better. And then we want to change our y. So we had -10, let's try -20. And it seemed like +10 was just fine. Okay. So what we've done is change the minimum value and the maximum value for the x's and the y's. This XSCL stands for scale. That just means we're counting by ones. There'll be a tick mark every one. Same with the y. And you really don't have to worry about the rest of this. So now let's hit graph to go back. That's a little bit better, but it'd be really nice if I could see just a little bit lower on this graph. So I'm going to go back to window, and I just want to change my y minimum. Maybe let's go to, I don't know, maybe -30 will cut it. We're just going to kind of keep testing. Well, almost. Hit y equals, or sorry, hit window again. And let's try maybe negative, I don't know, let's do negative 50. That should cut it. That should be more than enough. Oh, really? All right, almost. Maybe one more time. So we just have to kind of mess with it until we get enough of a picture going. I'm going to say negative 70 should do it. We're really close. All right. One more time. If we go negative 100, we can't have an issue. That's got to be close enough. All right. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So we can see this cubic function, because we know it was x cubed, is going to dip up, and it's going to go up, and then it's going to dip down somewhere probably around, I don't know, 70 maybe, negative 70, negative 80, and then come right back up. And I can see that it appears to cross the axis or touch the axis in two different places. Now, depending on the information that I want, maybe I want to know a table. So I could hit second, and then I see the word table in blue above graph. So I'll hit the graph button, and that'll give me a table. So if I needed to graph this by hand, I can scroll through this table. So I can keep looking down, or I can go up to get my negatives. It kind of depends on what information you are looking for. Okay. You can change the scale, you can change the start, and you can do all of that and just kind of follow the directions at the top of the screen. It says press for changing the table. Okay, so table set, we're going to hit second window, and that's what TBL set stands for. This means we're going to start counting at 1 in our table, and this 1 is going to say what we're counting by. So maybe I wanted to count by tens instead. Then when we went to second table, I would be counting, well, if I start at 1, that seems a little silly, doesn't that? Starting at 0 would make a little more sense then. So 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on. So I could look at it that way. It's really a matter of what do you want to be looking at? And it at some point is going to this scientific notation because it's just too big. So we'll hit second table, and usually we do like to start at 1 or 0. It doesn't matter. This will change depending on how you scroll. And usually we like to count by ones. Okay. So our table's back to normal. Another thing that we can do from our graph is we can find the what we call local or relative maximums or minimums. So I can hit trace, that's one option. By using the left and the right arrows, I can kind of scroll through the graph, and my cursor keeps changing what the XY point is, but it's not always very accurate. I tend to get a lot of irrational values, and that doesn't really do a lot for me. So, oh, there's 0, 0. So here's one thing I could do. If I know I wanted to know what the relative max is, nearby my cursor actually probably is 0, 0. I could hit second, calculate. In the calculate section, I have some options. I have value, 0, minimum, maximum, intersect. That would require 2 functions. And then this is really calculus. That's derivative and integral. What I want to calculate here is the maximum. Okay, so I'm going to choose 4. So if I want to know what is the maximum value there, it's going to ask me some questions. The first says left bound. So I know that my answer is probably 0, 0. So I want to choose a value a little bit to the left of it. I'll hit enter. And then a little bit to the right of it. And I'll hit enter. And what you're doing is telling the calculator, look between those 2 dashed lines. Look between those 2 blue dotted lines. The answer should be in there. So we'll kind of guess. We think this is it. And it tells you, yes, that your maximum is 0, 0. Okay. If I wanted the minimum, I could do the same thing. I'd hit second, calculate. This time I'm going to choose 3 for minimum. I want to be to the left of my minimum. My minimum's somewhere down here, so that should be to the left. I'll hit enter. I want to go to the right of my minimum. I'll hit enter. And then I want to take a guess just to kind of give my calculator like a good idea of what I'm talking about. All right, so we do get an irrational number, no big deal. We could round it. So my minimum value is about 5.3, comma, negative 75.9, somewhere around there. I could also calculate my zeros from my graphing calculator. If I hit second, trace, 0. And what I can do is the same thing. I'm answering these questions to the left, to the right, and guess. And our 0, 0, 0. I could do the same thing for the other 0. I want to be to the left of it. Whoops, too far. To the left of it, to the right of it. Even though I'm off the screen, I am above. I can check my values here. 28 is definitely above the axis. And take a guess. And 8, 0 is my other intercept. Okay, so there's a few things that we can do using this graphing calculator to kind of help us figure out what's going on with our function.